it's not just the Virginia Giuffre stuff. It's his association with Epstein as well. This
Yeah, yeah.
Epstein is literally criminally guilty, we should say. Andrew and it seems like his family have been so in hock to Epstein's money that it was the entire dignity of the royal family that was kind of at stake here, as well as the victims of the trafficking ring. So I think there is really very little excuse that we can make for Andrew. And to Simon's point that kings have done much worse. Well, yeah, they used to take people to the Tower. I'm not sure that's a good that appeal to history is
Well,
very,
indeed.
very good.
The good news this week is that if you happen to bump into Prince Andrew while attending your local golf club dinner dance, you won't have to call him Your Royal Highness. That's because he isn't any more stripped of all of his honorific titles by his bro, the King, and told to make his way in the world as plain old Andy Mountbatten Windsor. The bad news, of course, is that having been kicked out of Grand Lodge in Windsor, he may well end up living next door to you, popping over every so often to borrow the shears and casting lascivious glances at your 17-year-old daughter, allegedly. The decision to humiliate this gilded plank of wood still further seems to have met with unanimous delight. Does any sympathy remain in this quarter for Prince Andrew? Let me ask that of the wonderful Cindy Yu.
Thanks, Rod. I think I did see some opinion polling this week that said actually 1% of the UK still had a highly favourable view of Prince Andrew.
1%.
I don't know which 1%
that's even lower than Piers Morgan.
Well, but Rod, is still a lot of the country. But anyway, yes. So I mean, of course, he's never been found guilty, and we need to talk about that. He protests his innocence. But all the actions taken by the royal family are suggesting that they suspect more things might come out, and indeed in the US, more things are coming out, and that they want nothing to do with him, and for him to have no role in public life or even seem to be using the taxpayers' money at all. Of course, the question of what do you do with a aging royal who's never worked for his own bread in his life is a really hard one, because he still has to live on something. And so the king's having to pay for him out of his own private purse, when I think a lot of people would just rather he just was turfed out completely.
I think he could just about hold a job at Poundland in Doncaster, but that's a different... Simon, he is a gift to comedians, is he not?
Yes, which is a problem in itself, of course, because the temptation is to lay into him and to draw attention to his plummeting figures in the polls, less popular even than Keir Starmer, as you say. Now they're sort of neck and neck, and you can use that. Both sides of that sword can be used for satirical purposes, and so you are tempted to overlook the fact that this is a little bit problematic. I think, to be honest, if you are a member of the royal family, you don't just cease to be one because some unsubstantiated claims by a woman who subsequently committed suicide and was paid off so that it would never appear in court have derailed what I think it's more Prince William than Prince Charles who is currently curating the royal family's public reputation, and it feels much more like the sort of thing that the HR department might decide to do if there were one in the firm, or if there were if you were an ambassador for a brand and then you had been seen bringing that brand into disrepute, then obviously you would no longer represent Nike or Adidas after some ill-advised tweets or something. But this is not the nature of the royal family, it's a different thing. It's supposed to stand above all of that, and it's not as if his behaviour is completely unexampled in the history of royals. I mean, Edward VII, while he was waiting to ascend to the throne, there were quite substantial, some of the greatest poets in the land. I know Hilaire Belloc. If you buy a collection of his collected verses just after Matilda Who Told Such Terrible Lies, you'll find some really quite incisive and scabrous little limericks and so on about him wandering up and down the corridors of the country houses looking for a bit of fun in the evening. So, this is par for the course with royals. I think the very fact that Marina Hyde, I don't know if you're familiar with Marina, who is herself, I think, of blue blood, although she keeps that quiet, of course, in order to maintain her credibility on The Guardian. But she has made the case that, the rot started with the abdication. As soon as you're able to start tinkering with the royal family because you don't like the messaging that's coming out of it, it begins to undermine the entire thing itself. I personally would much rather have a royal family which... his family, blood is thicker than water. I think if an EastEnders family was able to step
I thought you were talking about a mafia family, Simon.
No, it's like Nil by Mouth, it's like Ray Winstone and Gary Oldman. They would have understood.
Just to hear Hilaire Belloc brought up in conversation, this, come on, this is a classy programme. This is a classy programme. I mean, you're absolutely right. You could take it back to the abdication, and we will be after 12 o'clock talking about what sort of stain this is going to leave on the royal family, but also whether morals might shift. I think, Cindy, looked at you're not just wonderful, but also a young person. If I can put it like that, or compared to me and Simon, you are.
You sound just like Prince Andrew now.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Let's move on.
That's how he gets in there.
It is, isn't it? Yes.
I'm a bit too old for that, I think.
But our morals change over the years. If you look back at attitudes now to Edward VIII and his abdication, because he copped off with some bird from married bird from America, there's quite a bit of sympathy with him. Will our morals change so that in 50, 60 years' time we look back and think, oh, look what they did to poor Prince Andrew?
I mean, I don't think so. How should I put this? I mean, the age of consent and the idea of, child marriage used to be okay, right? I mean, people who are 17-year-old did used to have, get married and have children, and we have moved upwards, if anything. And I can't imagine that in 50 years anyone will say that this person has, if it is true what is alleged, that he has done a good thing. But I think the other thing, Rod, is that actually it's not just the Virginia Giuffre stuff. It's his association with Epstein as well. Epstein is literally criminally guilty. We should say. Andrew, and it seems like his family have been so in hock to Epstein's money that it was the entire dignity of the royal family that was kind of at stake here, as well as the victims of the trafficking ring. So I think there is really very little excuse that we can make for Andrew. And to Simon's point that kings have done much worse. Well, yeah, they used to take people to the Tower. I'm not sure that's a good that appeal to history is very good. We shouldn't want that kind of monarchy now.
Well, Andrew has always denied all the accusations against him. A lawyer has told me a short while ago, so I thought I'd just shove that in there.